Hey, everybody. We just wanted to give you a little bit of a roadmap of how we sort of address patients. I know there's lots of practitioners in this space that talk about lots of things, like mold and underlying, immune burdens and many other things. So we just kind of wanted to give you our approach. And we often say that God doesn't work in formulas. So we really do try to listen to God's lead and let Him guide us. But with that said, we do also really sort of, you know, do some basic foundational things first. Carrie, do you want to talk about some of those basic foundational things um, that
Yeah.
we sort of really rest on before we approach sort of the roadmap of how we handle things?
Yeah. So, you know, most of the women that come to us, I mean, well, I should say not even just the women that come to us, like we all have stressors on our body that is causing it to feel certain symptoms, right? And so we really look to see when somebody comes to us and they're like, okay, I really need help with these issues. Um, what are the stressors that need to be addressed? And those, there's several different ways that our body feels stress. I mean, it could feel stress from if we're under eating or we're not getting enough nutrients. Maybe it's like they're not eating enough protein, or maybe they're not getting enough rest at night, or maybe they're not moving their body enough, or maybe they do have an immune burden. There's just so many different ways we feel stress. So we're trying to evaluate as a whole, how can we help the body to get more of what it needs so that it can function optimally. That's kind of like big picture. But we always have to lead that off with, okay, how is your diet? Are you getting enough micronutrients? Are you getting enough protein, especially to make help your blood sugar to come back to a stable point, which affects so many different things. And we actually have done podcasts on that will link, and YouTube videos as well. So we have a free resource also on that. So we'll link up to that. Blood sugar is really key. So that's definitely a foundational thing that we're always kind of trying to balance and optimize. Also, just being outside, more grounding, getting light on our eyeballs and our skin. All of these things play a part in helping the body come back to a sense of homeostasis and balance, and basically helping your body have a strong foundation. That's number 1. Like, we have to start there because that's what everything else is going to build on, and what is going to give your body energy that it needs to heal in whatever way that it needs to heal. And one of the things that we do help people walk through that's a stressor would be underlying issues that really have affected the immune system. And I think it's important to note not only how the body wants and typically heals, in what order that you should address some of these underlying immune burdens. We want to talk about how we keep that in mind, but how we really prioritize what the individual person is, what is their body saying, right? How does it want to heal? I think it's a both and approach, not an either or approach. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I think this is a really important concept to just think about, because what I see happening a lot is you have people in this space that are only focused on parasites, or they're only focused on mold, or they're only focused on Lyme issues that you might be experiencing. But it's really important to look at all of these issues in a way of, okay, what makes sense in the order of how you have to kind of address these. So as I said before, number 1 would be, you wanna make sure your body has enough energy to actually detox properly, and, like, the drainage pathways are open, because if that's not happening, then you can't ask the body to get rid of anything that might be there that doesn't need to be.
Right, and minerals are a huge part
Yes.
of how the body works and how we support those energy system, because really minerals run the show, and for enzymatic processes, for everything. So by supplying the right minerals, in an electrolyte form, we use a powder electrolyte called Re-Lyte. That really is a good balance of potassium and sodium. There's chloride in there too. And then, as Carrie said, working on drainage. And we'll use specific nutritional supports and homeopathics to really support and get the body draining so that we can start to address some of those immune burdens.
Yeah. So that's definitely number 1 because you can't ask the body again to deal with some of these things if it doesn't have they don't have a way to get out. And so that is number 1. And sometimes that takes a while,
Right.
right?
Right.
So the timeline is very up in the air, I guess, with that, if that makes sense. But after you kind of get the body, where it's digesting well and it's the drainage pathways are open, then you typically want to think about looking at parasites next because parasites hold their way in various things like toxins and mold and metals and virus, bacteria, those types of things. And they're actually typically in larger amounts than normal because our body does have those things and it's a protective mechanism pretty much, but of course they can cause issues as well. And I should say, um, with the whole parasite conversation, it's important to open up biofilms first because I've done videos about this in the past that I'll put in the description of this video if you want to learn more about what those are. But basically, just protective sacs that parasites form to survive in the body, and so you have to kind of break those open before you can really address what's in there, of course. And so parasites need to be addressed, and then typically mold and metals would need to be supported in a way of helping your body kind of get rid of those in a way that really it was already trying to, but we're supporting the pathways. And then after those have been addressed, if there are any Lyme and co-infection symptoms that are showing patterns that are showing, that can be addressed at that time. And then viral issues are typically last if needed. But of course, we're trying to just help the body do what it's already trying to do. And that's sort of the bigger picture that we try to keep in mind. But we also want to talk about how sometimes it doesn't always go in that order, especially at first. You want to talk about that, Jen?
Sure. Yeah. So, we really rely on obviously labs, hair tissue mineral analysis, and blood, but we also rely on muscle testing to really tap into the subconscious brain because the body knows how it wants to heal and when it wants to heal and in what order. And so we really tap into that innate intelligence to guide us as far as what the body wants to address next. And we think that's a really key aspect of healing because the subconscious mind has all the answers how to heal at a cellular level. And so we use that information to guide us along with the subjective information that we get through testing to give us a good path forward to open up these drainage pathways, bust the biofilms, support any
Yeah.
immune burdens, and lead us to physical healing and then address any emotional healing that might need to take place too because the emotions can cause disturbances in the cellular function.
Mhm.
um, and we need to address those too. So we
Yeah.
hope this was helpful for you. We hope it, guided you a little bit out on how we work. If you have any questions, we would love to answer. Reach out to us at hello@cornerstoneintegrativehealing.com. And we'll catch you on the next video.